Today, I'm going to be looking at Shock versus Fusion's match from August 16th. Is the one where Fusion 3-0'd the Shock, and I'm going to be taking a look at their King's Row match because I don't like King of the Hill.
Ready for battle.
So right off the bat, we have the hero bands as Zarya, Genji, Tracer, and Brigitte. So Dive is like, it's kind of in a weird spot on this bans because you would see most teams playing the Monkey Diva, Ana Mercy, Ashe Sombra. I think has been the most popular dive variant recently during this ban system. But right now, the actually meta dive is Winston, Zarya, Ana, maybe Sombra, Ashe, Tracer. I don't know about the last support because it feels like all the supports are honestly pretty bad right now. But probably either Brig, Mercy, Lucio. Zen and Ana is too frail against counter dive, so it's not really so much of a viable choice. So I'm just gonna be practicing my reviewing of team macro here, and I'm gonna be seeing how it goes. So right off the bat, you have Fusion starting off with honestly pretty vanilla double shield comp variant without the Brig, mostly because Brig is banned, of course. Orisa Sigma are standard double shield. They are oriented around taking angles and controlling the map, because Sigma has the most long-term map control out of any flex tank, while Orisa is one of the less peel demanding main tanks, and has good synergy with a lot of heroes. The Widowmaker is a pretty vanilla choice, honestly, on King's Row as well. Sometimes you'd see an Ashe on defense, especially instead of the Widow. Widow is usually a more common pick for offense, but I mean, if you're gonna be expecting them to play Widow, like if you'd probably expect Ons to open up with Widow on King's Row just because he's just that good at Widow. You probably want your own Widow to try and counterplay and duel them, threaten the sightlines. The Junkrat pick is kind of a personal flavor pick. It's sort of like the Mei, because the problem is if you're running the Sombra would just get outvalued here, even though she's a meta DPS. Tracer would be a great pick in theory, but she's banned. Mei and Junkrat both kind of give that spam option to wall out zones. And in general, Junkrat just outvalues Mei right now at a pro level. That's why you see the Junk sim on Lijiang Tower and a lot of other King of the Hill maps right now in the Overwatch League, rather than the sim Mei. It's just like a little bit of an evolved pure frontline pressure. So I think Shock does a similar concept with the Echo here instead of the Junk, if I remember right. In the past, they've run on King Still a lot, anyways. You could probably run. I feel like a Hanzo might work too, but it's not really the main meta choice and doesn't really do quite the same thing because it's just loading on an air sniper. And usually you'll have a lot of you don't want the two snipers because it can be inconsistent. It can sometimes not have enough pressure on tanks, from my experience, and a lot of the times the Widow and Hanzo want to occupy the same angles.
Ready for battle.
So it looks like Shock is
Defend objective
opting to
A.
run the Mei sim. The Mei is just to wall up, I think. I don't think they're going to actually rotate through, or maybe they will. It's probably, if I remember right, it's the one where you wall up here, teleport to the high ground, and then... Well, let's just see what they do. Because usually you use Mei to cover rotation or to boost up the teleporter. Okay, Okay, so they just teleport to the back high ground. They're probably gonna use wall to either cross this gap or they'll just go directly in. On stays behind because he's creating a split angle. He's gonna swap to Widow or Ashe, probably Widow, and then he's going to play. I would guess probably from behind bus or alleyway, just because, or like entrance, because the problem is with the theater, just a little more obvious, a little easier to see, and you're a little less sheltered and don't have the mega quite as there. So let's see what happens. So they don't use the main wall to rotate, so the rest of Shock rotates through top. They're on Brawl, which is kind of an interesting choice. It's super specialty, because like he's a phenomenal Reinhardt, even if he's a recent Monkey are like serviceable too. Smurf just does those better, but Super is just one of the best Reinhardts in the league. Like he has a very assertive playstyle that lends very well to the hero and Shock as a whole. So usually, like the problem with Brawl, that's probably why they're running the Mei. Is you pretty much need the Mei and you need the Lucio. That's probably why they have Moth in too, because without the Lucio you can't close the distance, and without the Mei, that you can just generally get kited back, or you need that that individual player control over the environment that Mei gives, in order for Brawl to have consistent value. And that's like why for a while earlier this season you saw McCree, Mei, Ryan, Diva, Ana, Lucio, I think it was, where like if you're gonna have the Ryan, people are like, oh yeah, I wish Ryan would be meta again, or I wish Lucio would be meta again. It's like, well, great, but you hate Mei, and Mei is going to be meta if you have Ryan and Lucio. That's just the sauce. So then you have the Moira Lucio. It's a pretty common backline for Brawl right now, because it has burst impact as like the number one thing, and then it doesn't need peel, because you can't really afford to peel for people in Brawl. You're trying to just run them over. So like Ana is great, except that she's left in the open and usually can be exploited when you're on a Brawl comp. She doesn't usually rotate in as fast, so it's better just have everybody stacked on top. It's pretty much 6 people or 5 people in this case slam on top of the team, while Ans just controls the sightline and ideally kills Carpe. Um, you'd use the Sig because Zarya's banned, but also he just provides a better damage output than D.Va in most cases. So if you're not worried about high ground control as much, Sigma usually is just gonna perform better, especially if you have the Lucio, because he puts out more damage and can block nades and stuff the same way that D.Va would, and by shielding the top. Like he just outvalues D.Va in this context. So Shaka's just waiting right now for Ons to get back into position. Note how Fusion has rotated though. I think that shield is just left over from the initial holding position, but they start to move into this back corner. They probably predict that Ons is going to be on the Widowmaker in main, which is standard procedure, and they want to space themselves out enough from Shock so that they don't just get rushed by the initial hit and actually have some longer, lower angles onto the backline of Shock when they start coming down. Meanwhile, Sato still needs to be on point. They might be able to give Shock a tick, but ideally they'd like not to. Fury isn't watching any off angles right now, except my guess is he might end up putting a shield in here by this trap that was here for if Shock rotates through. My guess is that he's going to be watching the Widow sightline a bit, but you might as well just stack up because Widow is the only off angle. So as long as you're just watching that one off angle, Sigma can just stack up with Orisa. There's no need for a split. There's no split on Shock to address in turn. Carpe is top, I think. Yeah, so he's playing the safe sightline. There's no reason to be in Ons' positioning. He's probably going to look for a pick on Violet or Rascal as they come through. but super shield should just stop that from happening. Let's see how this goes. What I would imagine happens here is that Shock probably rotates through to the opposite side of the high ground of Clock Tower, and then Ons is going to be by bus, and they probably send Super and Rascal down, and then we'll see what happens from there. See, there's the pick on Rascal that I was talking about. Like, if we watch this from Carpe's POV here.
I recommend moving behind my barrier.
Yeah, let's move.
There you are.
I think Choi got a little too greedy here with trying to get some value with the suction, because he just didn't really need to be there.
Audio medic.
Look at that trigger discipline. No shot on the Reinhardt, and I somehow even missed the shot on Rascal.
There you are.
Usually what you'd want is, I would probably have put the Sigma shield out there first, or you would want it sent directly to the Widow, but you need to, like, Choi should not have been there in my opinion. He's not getting any value. So he has, like, he's mousing over Rascal with the shield up, and then, oh, Super's jump. That's brutal. That's ruthless. Super's jump puts Rascal's head slightly under the shield, to the point that Carpe can get it. This dude's a madman. This is why Carpe is a world class DPS, if I'm honest. So now he's switching up the angle. He's gonna look for a long angle, because the problem is if he was sitting up here still, Ons knows exactly where he is, and a lot of Widow is just making sure that they don't know where you are. So let's see what happens in the main area after this. Rascal gets picked, so now they're in this difficult conundrum. Choi dropped. It looks like he was going to contest the point, and then they were going to have maybe the full team rotate through top to push out Carpe, and then drop from bottom for a pincher. But, like, Choi, I really don't agree with this, because I don't think, like, they were trying to set up this third off angle because they still have Ons in main with sightlines on point, and point is clear of pressure, but they would have needed to do this rotation cleaner, I think. And even then, I don't know how well it would work. So Super probably just drops here to see if they can get a tick with the pressure. I'm assuming Moth and Violet are going after Carpe initially, who vacates because obviously he doesn't want to get run over by two angry support players. But, like, Fusion is they're just chilling back here. There's no rush. The angles are destroyed. On starts to try and look for an angle through the cafe, but look at how smart these dudes are playing. They're not playing by any of the doors. Really disciplined behind their tanks, watching the angles. Probably good comms for knowing where everyone is. Ons tries to take a wider angle, but by this time the team is just dead. I feel like Violet's probably gonna try and escape, maybe through cafe, or no, they probably just try and wait it out. Like that, because Fusion doesn't have enough vertical mobility to make it worthwhile to run up there. What sightline is this? What in the world? Oh my gosh, that is a dirty angle. And like, he knows that Ons is gonna be up here. I don't know if Ons knows that Carpe is gonna. No, he thinks he's up there. Oh man, that is some serious mind battle. But like the Fusion doesn't have the vertical mobility to deal with the Mercy and the Moira and the Lucio. Usually you'd send up like a Diva or your Sombra maybe to harass them, try for a kill, but like they don't have time to send Sigma up there even with a speed boost. So like all they can do is maybe have Funny Astro harass. Because this is the issue with Widowmaker, is like an Ashe. Maybe you could like handle them with the Lucio, but like a Widow, you don't want to put your Widow in the situation where they have to point blank shoot a Moira and a Lucio before they die. So they're probably just gonna let Violet and Moth stay up there. See, like there goes Funny Astro. He got 2 aggro on the Moira and the Lucio and paid for it, and even with Alarm coming up to try and get back up. Hi, Tweety. Yeah, I hear you. Even with the backup from Alarm, like that's not enough. They would have needed. I guess they could have sent Hisu up there. Hello, Willow. Like it doesn't work. Here, let's see if you can see. That's Tweety right there. Hi, Tweety. Anyways, back to business. Where was it? So yeah, you would need to send Hisu up there, probably. But even then, they should have just left it, I think. Like the Moira and Lucio are not a strong split angle, as it's not going to do much. So now what happens is, Alarm is making the right choice. When you have a Widow, like on these long sight lines, and you have a Brawl pushing point, or really anyone pushing point, you have to back into this archway, or maybe into here. Because if you just sit in this back corner, you will get gunned down. Like you'll get rushed. There's nothing you can do. There's no escape. It's a kill box. So you have the team starting to back up in there. My guess is that they'll give a tick to try and have Funny Astro come back and try and stem the bleeding a bit and then re-engage with them. Okay, so there's a really good wall from Rascal though. See, it cuts off the rotation because Fury and Hisu were both heading on out of there. But now Hisu is trapped. I think he might kill Violet here, honestly. And Fury really isn't in any danger. But it cuts off the healing still, and that's a high value wall because Super can just probably run over Sato here. Immortality. Oh yeah, there's the chunk. You still have some battle from Ons and Carpe. But see, Violet's down, and while it was a high value wall, I don't think it had the precision that it needed, because you have, like, the Sigma didn't get caught off, and I think that's the thing that you really needed, because BAP can jump over the wall, so it cuts off the healing for a moment, like I said, but it doesn't really give you that, it doesn't give any long-term value. Like, Rascal even just takes it down right away, I think. And now Hisu is on him. Their Mei is zoned out, like the Mei is dead. She can't, as in she can't do anything from here. She's going to be pressured out by Hisu, and then have to rotate all around to here, and then she's just in main. It's not very valuable. There's not really any good wall positions there. Ons is still held in check by Carpe until Carpe kills him, or until Ons kills Carpe. So it's pretty much just Choi and Super and seeing what they can do. They don't have their main healer. I think they'll get it. Yeah, so see, the Fusion did give them a tick, though. They did back off. But to take things slow because they're a man down. But now that they traded for Violet, they can play it more aggressively here. And Super just, like, when you're on Brawl, you don't have the sustained resources. You can't take a slow, sustained battle against these dudes. So Shock made the right call here by just backing out. Like, you can't, if you hit a stumbling block, if you hit a little burr in the road on Brawl, it's end of the game. You're not, that push isn't going to work. You need all the resources in a faster burst than you would get with like, you just need it in a fast burst, essentially. I lost my train of thought there for a second. But, like, Brawl is all about resources applied in a fast manner to focus on point control and objective. Dive is focused on high ground and map control combined with isolation and speed. So it borrows the speed of Brawl, but it has a lot more precision because you have the mobility to 4-tap precision. So you can isolate targets with monkey bubble and things like that. And it focuses more on map control because you have the mobility to actually get up and control the map. So you can deny the high grounds first and then move in. And then double shield is all about the map control entirely and the slow resource burn. So you sort of have Brawl and then dive and then double shield spam as like a spectrum essentially of burst resources to sustained resources, and also speed to map control. Because the faster you go, like map control takes time, it's just a matter of fact. So the faster you're going, the less map control you can afford to do. Like dive, there's a lot of time that's just posturing. Brawl cuts down on that a bit. So Shockback's out. They keep Choi on the high ground because, once again, Fusion does not... Like, Sigma is such an insane duelist. Oh, he's not on the high ground. He could be, though. But he can stay on the angle because, like, Fusion doesn't have anyone who can really contest him safely. And Sigma's such a good duelist. There's no... He's under no pressure. So you might as well keep the off angle, wear down Sato's shield, so on. Okay, so here's the rotation through Hotel. This is a pretty normal rotation for Brawl. You would either do the one all the way through Cafe that we saw first, or you see through here. You don't usually go mid, because it gives you the long sight lines, and you're just pretty vulnerable. Hotel's pretty good. Looks like he's removed the trap. It's unfortunate. Probably could have caught someone. But, let's see, right off the bat, they get this ball. This... still doesn't do much, if I'm honest. It looks like Hisu was already going back here to try and use Tire. And once again, Bab can already just jump. But... my guess is what might happen here is either... I don't see Shock winning this, if I'm honest. They'd have to see. They'd have to burst down Fury really quickly. Yeah, Super goes down. They try and invest the temple with Coalescence to turn it. I think it was actually before the tire, maybe. But... I guess this is winnable, technically. Because you have Alarm boxed in the back there. You have a funny... no. Moth is going up here to try and catch Carpe. Because that'll open up Ons for more aggressive angles. And if Ons hit a headshot on Sato, I think Choi could probably clean this up. So where then did Ons land the shot, or was it? Yep, that was a headshot from Ons that took him down. So now, even with Super down, because Coalescence is it's a really powerful tempo for changing fights. Like, it's really good if you're a man down, because it's fast coming, so it's not like a huge risk if you lose with it. And it's really good at turning the tides because it has that healing and damage. So this kind of shifts the scale back to even for a bit. So now Choi and Rascal can just sit here. Like, these guys, Funny Astro, if he goes in aggressive, he's going to be feeding into Ons. Ons is maybe going to look for a sightline through Cafe on this back line, but we'll see. And Fury doesn't have... I think his shield was broken already, though. Let's see. Yeah, his shield is broken, so he doesn't have the same level of resources as as Choi does here, nor do they have the respawn advantage. They do still have Hisu though, so we'll have to see where it goes. I feel like Shock win this then, because they killed Sato. There's the other temple. You have Window. Window's really good for denying a sightline, so now they might actually be able to pressure out Choi. He's probably just going to disengage behind phone booth or something. Yeah. Big wall by Rascal to zone out the heals. Huge mistake by Fury, honestly, to go around here. I think... Could he have made it? No. Wait, so... Funny Astra went and do a little alarm, because that was a big problem, so they addressed that. But they... this is hard. I think what they would have needed to do is they would have needed to sense Fury onto point a little earlier, because then... and expected him to get walled, because then you could have had alarm jump up to here, to just like above the wall to heal him. Because the problem is for the split second that Fury's cut off and unable to, like, rotating around the wall, he's gonna die probably. Or no, he got boots. Same difference. Oh wait, what? Okay. Someone made some play here. So, is he... What's up just recently? Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I'm probably only streaming for like an hour anyways. I usually like to do an hour-long sessions. I don't know how long I've been going, but I mean, then again, I'm only on like the second team fight. I go pretty slow with this stuff, but... Okay, so where was I? Trying to figure out what happened. So, Rascal walls the window. He misses it a bit though, so he can actually still damage the wall through the window. So that's kind of a big deal. It doesn't last as long as it should have. And then each Lucio kills the widows, so the widow pressure is just gone. Yeah, I like the wall in theory, but then because they angled the window slightly, it just didn't quite work out. And I think he probably would have needed to land it like a little... Actually, I don't know if he should have used it at all there, honestly, because like they have the Junkrat and it doesn't really get as clean of a rotation cutoff as they would have needed. So, anyways, let's see what happens here. I'm going to slow it down. Yeah, Astro's a nuts Lucio.
Hello.
Yeah, so they break the wall. Astra is causing chaos again in the back line. Yeah, they're so close to getting this, but then... Where's Super? Is he almost back? No, he's at spawn. Got the amazing flying main. Yeah, I'm not looking at the micro as much, but I feel like Choi probably could have, like, if he had played it like perfectly, he probably could have gotten it. I think they made the right choice to focus Hisu here. But yeah, I think just like that old advantage from losing that first fight so miserably just kind of bit them. Like, I hate to say it, but I really think it was just an old difference there. Yeah, I think it might have broken on the rock segments. Yeah, if he had saved it, maybe. Yeah, the problem is, like, without a main tank or, like, the pressure from the Widow and stuff, it's hard to say. Like, Sigma has such an advantage over the squishies, but then, like, if there's another Sigma ulting, there's not really anything you can do. Like, the shock is all low, and I mean... Yeah, if they had kept Hisu off the point, I feel like if they had booped, like, maybe if Moth hadn't drawn back, if he had stayed up front somehow with a little bit of shielding. Like, I feel like maybe if Choi and Moth had played it more aggro, like right up front corner, I think they could have won it. Because they're trying to play a spammy, slow, sustained playstyle that Sigma does great on and probably could have grabbed the point with. But then the problem is that like normally you could grab the point by playing slow, like that was Sigma against Squishies. But then they literally have a Junkrat and a BAP. Like, you're not gonna win that. Yeah, Rascal, like, he doesn't have any. Yeah, he doesn't have the shots here. I think he would have needed to play more aggressively and either lose the fight faster or win it faster. Like, yeah, Lucio Moira does not beat Bab Junk in like any way, sense, or form. And then Funny Aster is still just going rogue here, and he just clapped Ons, and then he's probably, I think he's probably gonna kill Violet right after this. Let's see, I think he does. Yeah, there goes Violet. So like that's the end of that. It was pretty much a clutch play by Fury with the getting the flux fast enough and staying disciplined, even if I thought it was a little shaky there at times. And then I'm hesitant to call out Choi just because, like, I don't doubt that he had good reasoning behind what he was doing, and maybe if I looked at a more micro scale, I could see it, but that would take a lot more time. But I feel like there was potential there that Shock could have clutched it and just fell short. Super is beating. I don't know what Super is doing. Yeah, Super is just straight up fed. Yeah, so if they had rushed past window, I thought about that too. I think the problem is I don't think they would survive the point blank damage from Hisu. I think that'd be too much pressure, because my guess is that Violet probably had pretty low research stores already. And while I like the idea, I don't think it would have worked in practicality. I feel like if a Rascal had waited with the wall and then gone through Cafe to hit a diagonal split here, that would have worked better. Because you would have a complete... The wall does stretch across from here to here, I think. And if he waited till window, it would have gone perfectly on the window. Because I think he would have placed his window there regardless of where the wall was. So... yeah, Violet was culling, so maybe they do. Let's actually take a look at that. I think that was earlier in the fight, though, by a decent amount. No, yeah, it doesn't refuel it, so yeah, he was just completely drained. They didn't have it for the aggression. I'm curious what Rascal was doing here, though, because I think... Oh, yeah, no, he waffled around here. If he had just gone and rotated through into this back corridor, I think they would have won that fight. I straight up think that that was a throw by Rascal almost to stay here for a bit and not commit his resources in this fight when, like, so many people are dead already. Yeah, and if Choi had stayed at the planter, that might have also worked. Like, because, like, this is probably workable. Or, like, I don't mind this spot, but it's kind of a kill box in the same way that this back corner is a kill box, where it's like, well, if you're in the middle of point, there isn't really anywhere that feasible to go if you're on this back wall. Because you get, like, maybe behind this truck, but you're too tall. You can't really afford to get all the way to over here. You really just get the telephone box, and, like, even this, you're not actually protected from the sightlines at all. So yeah, if Rascal had walled Immortality or just gotten a better wall through this indoor section, or even just had the spam damage, like, look at how low Alarm was before the Immortality. Like, my guess is he dropped that low before... When did they drop Immortality? Okay, it looks like they just dropped it, probably. No, that wasn't Immortality. When did they drop it? like right here. Like they have On's pressuring here if he had landed the shot on Funniest or maybe. But just in general, if Rascal had been poking through here, look at how low Alarm was in there. Like Alarm was 1, and he was just right here, no immortality. That's not a hard icicle to land even. No, that was the second wall. This is the first one, so they dropped it right before the wall. But he didn't have sight lines on it. Yeah, so super feeds. Moth goes for an assassination on Alarm. Oh, he's so close. Come on. Oh, nice. Yeah, so that's a huge stagger kill. Because, I mean, Shock, like, they're a faster paced comp. They can probably run it down faster. I think Funny Astro is going to ferry him back, yeah. Because there's no way they can do this without Alarm. Look at that rollout. So here, they're going to go for the same rotation. I like it, honestly, because... Or, wait. Okay, so they went around here. Ons is looking for... He's probably just going to take the wide sight line here. Because Carpe is going to be rotating back to here. Because if he's up here, it's a lot easier for Lucio to get to him. It's a lot easier for Ons to get to him. Like, I think Widow versus Widow is kind of like the Tracer versus Tracer, where it's like, well, if you don't have to take it, you don't really need to take it. Like, Carpe is playing defensively. He would provide a lot of pressure from here without being pressured by Ons. So it's like, well, I don't know, kind of win-win for him. Yeah, essentially. Yeah, it's like the tempo is like always a key factor in here. Yeah, Fusion supports weren't even back, but like they knew that they would be back in a moment, so. But I think Shock probably wins this because Fusion wasn't ready. That was a pretty good wall. No, that's... Yeah, no, that's a good wall. It blocks Fury from backing up. And keeps him... Like, if he wants to back up now, he has to line up here with Sato. And that's not a really hot spot because they're just concentrating all their damage right there. My guess is they're probably going to use Shatter. I think Sato's going to die. Fury dies, and maybe they use Shatter for cleanup. There's the beat, necessary for stabilizing. Yeah, Alarm doesn't have the sightlines for Lamp and Immortality, but he can always jump up is something I was thinking about too. So it's like, well, it lasts for like a second, which is still really valuable, but only for a bit. But yeah, the tanks were like the big value thing, yeah. So the speed and wall, like yeah, Fusion had no choice but to beat. They would have been run over without it. My guess is they still lose this fight though. Carpe's rotated, Ons is rotated to those spots. What'll happen here probably is Sato is in a terrible position. I can't see him surviving this. And then I think that, yeah, I think the Shadow comes out. No, he didn't try to Shatter. He died, Supercharger. That's a lot of ults. Okay. So we have Supercharger and Infa from Fusion. From Shock, they have Blizzard, Flux, Sights, and Beat. So Shock really wants to win this fight. They have a minute 30. They don't want to spend it longer. Carpe finds the pick on the Super. Like, that was kind of what I was talking about, where he, like, she has the like Carpe has the sightlines here without being under any threat for all practical purposes. So like, that's a really powerful position when you're engaging here. Yeah, I don't know who wins this now. I feel like Shock doesn't, because even with the, well, I don't know. Blizzard and Flux might just be powerful enough to wipe Hisu and Fury off the board. If they kill those two, they win. Okay, yeah, he got Fury and Sato, and Rascal found Alarm. So yeah, that's okay. So the Flux hit. That's a good question. My guess, yeah, the beat might have been to try and save Super and then get the aggression in. Okay, no, I think it was just a response beat. Okay, you got the beat. Yeah, it was just a response beat, because usually you'd want to delay it after Fusion, and it gives them the even so that they can't, like, hard engage. So, like, Fusion can't just run shock over thanks to the beat. But Super just gets shredded. I don't... Oh, he got Junkrat trapped. Yeah, that is brutal. Yeah, let's look at those.
This is not over.
Yeah, that is awful. That trap single-handedly just demolished Super. And then Choi just clutched it out, essentially.
Objective lost. Stop the payload. Team kill.
Yeah, so since you don't have the tanks, you have Rascal moving up here to try and get ready for preventing rotation. Because you if you don't have your tanks up here, like, you cannot give them this free space, because if you have this space, then you're the ones defending, and obviously you want to be the ones defending for all practical purposes. Yeah, it was probably a beat for Bongo back in that fight. Ons is looking for an early pickoff. My guess is that he's imagining if Carpe, like, peeks through here, because Carpe is probably going to be looking for Ons. My guess is that Fury is just going to shield, and then they'll have to back off. Yeah, I think the early wall did pressure out the fortify, so that was pretty valuable. Usually with the positioning in this building, like, first of all, it's high ground access. Second of all, it's a safe place where you can just wait without having to use up resources. And third, it covers both of the rotations of the enemy team. If they want to hit here, you have the high ground and can rotate down. If they want to climb the stairs, you can literally just engage them at the top of the stairs. Like, it's a win-win for stalling. And it buys Choi on the cart a lot of free space. I don't really know why Choi is on cart. I guess Ons you need on the sightlines, pressuring for the early pick. That's too valuable. Violet you need with the main tank. Super you need up here because you can't hold the space otherwise without your main tank. Lucio, I guess you need to get Super here, and then May you need the ball. So yeah, I guess you don't have any better choice than Choi, but it's still kind of weird because he doesn't have the mobility to get back into the fight. So what'll probably happen is when Fusion engages, Shock is just going to try and burn time to buy space. I don't think they're going to actually hard engage because they know they're going to lose the 5v6. Yeah, so Ons misses his one shot, vacates. He's going to take another sight line, go for another shot. He backs up all the way because he can't, like, this sight line is awful if Carpe just watches it at all. But Carpe is on McCree now. My guess is that they're doing it because there's just less sight lines on point B. Like, less long sight lines, and then on point C you have like very predictable sight lines, even if they're good. And Ons would just have the like yeah, my guess is it'd just be because of the sight lines. Yeah, so yeah, Kite is like, they're probably gonna kite back to join Choi. Like, see, Choi is already almost here, so they're probably gonna, I think I've seen before they do this, they've done this in other matches, is they wall this front door and then they just hide inside and then Choi comes up. Ons is probably going to stick on Widow for now. I feel like he might swap to Ashe, though, later. We'll see. I would swap him to Ashe, probably. Yeah, so now they're almost playing like a Death Ball spam hybrid on Fusion. Because, like, yeah, you have the spam damage, but, like, you have the Lucio and the Kree, and you're almost looking to brawl similar. Like, this, see how they're all stacked up because there's no off angles, and like, they can also just run over. Super drops really low from that stun. That was a good flashbang. I think it was like barely within the reach. He might just straight die here. Yeah, okay, so he's forced to kite back. And now they rotate around again to take the fight. Tempo ult comes out. Tire comes out. I think Fusion probably just lands the Tire and wins this fight. I think it was a mistake to leave Choi here. I think they should have left Cart and rotated here as the full team. Or at least, like, pull Choi up to corner, at least. Even if he's not all the way back. Like, you have, Carpe. He's probably looking for an angle on Ans, who he maybe thought would be down here. And then on Choi. But then, really, like, this 5v5, I don't know if it's the best choice to not have Choi available in it. Yeah, they're trying to win... Or yeah, no, it's a 4v5, yeah, you're right, because... Well, no, it's technically a 5v5 because Ans has the sightlines here. It's just not the best sightlines. That's probably why Shock rotated to here for the engagement. Because it gives Ans some sightline that's valuable. But yeah, it's like a 4.5 versus 5 kind of, because Ans, like, he doesn't have any different sight lines. It's not like see, Fury just has this shielded here. Like this shield is like Ans is shut down. He's not gonna be doing anything. And like that's Sigma's powers. You can control these off angles. Even if he's not there, you can hold them down. Yeah, Alarm should have lamp. My guess is it'll come out here. Super lands a nice fire strike on the tire. I respect that. Rascal and Violet are backing off. I like that. It creates an off angle, and like Mei can actually push in a decent amount off an off angle because she's very independent. And then Moira doesn't need any peel. So, and they like Fury can't afford to rush them. He would be the one to rush them probably. Because, yeah, like, Rascal's freeze angle here is absolutely dominant, potentially. Because, and, like, you can't afford to mark him, because Fury has to mark Ons. Like, he's too good to not mark. Carpe is still, frankly, missing in action over here. He had, like, Shock did a really good job engaging while Carpe was still on the rotation. And now this is just a straight-up 5v6 in favor of Shock. So... yeah, you have the immortality come out here from Alarm, you call that, and like Tire forces that out. Ons is now in a great spot because Fusion is having to play at this corner more aggressively, and this wall is disgusting. Like this is enormous because there's nowhere for the tanks to go. Like this Widow pressure is just heavy, heavy, heavy. Like this Widow pressure is just dominant right now with that wall there, and I don't think Hisu's going to be able to break it in time. At least not before Sato probably drops to half and gets pressured back. They do have window, that's true. Yeah, they might pop it here, actually. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, there it is. They're trying to... Okay, so their window is how they try and mark these two and pressure them out. But, like, see, like, Moira can just fade out. Rascal's fine. And then, like, that brief moment of the shields going down opened it up for that shatter. I want to see that again up close here because that was actually an enormous shatter. Yeah, so like Ons and Rascal probably burn the shields, same with some spam from Choi and Moth. And then as soon as those shield resources are down, like Shock has all the map control in the world here. And they know that there's nowhere else for the fusion to go like this. Yeah, so Super just goes for a blind shatter. Or it's not really that blind though, because he has Violet for his eyes. Like Violet can just say, oh, they're all literally on the stairs. Yeah, so that shatter was an enormous setup play by the Shock. Completely negates the window. Yeah, and then he just cleans up from there. But yeah, like that just touches even more on how yeah, Fury's shield got pressured out because he had to keep it up to wall out Ons. And that's why Widow pressure is so key, is that it requires so much resources. Like you can't not address a Widow because she will literally just one hit KO. You can't just out heal a Widow. So you have to dedicate like an actual person or an actual shield or something to blocking it. So yeah, if Fury had his shield, he probably could have done it. I don't think he made the wrong choice by shielding Ons, but I think maybe what he needed to do is send the shield up here. But no, because then Choi would have broken it either way. Yeah, I think it was just lose-lose. I think the Shock just set this up better, if I'm honest. Like Carpe, if Carpe wasn't here, if he was here, or because then he could have rotated back to here, that would have been immensely high value. I feel like Fusion just didn't set up their fight as well as the Shock. I think they needed to either, yeah, I feel like Carpe's positioning there was a mistake. I don't think they should have sent him on that rotation. And you have this kill box here. There's no shelter. You let them get the map control. They would have needed to, yeah, they would have needed to like prevent Shock from getting this angle, because this angle demolished them. Because then they get forced back, and then the shatter lands. Funny Aster gets a landing blow on Hans though with the help of
Team
Carpe.
kill. The payload has reached the checkpoint.
I don't love this point. It's really hard to spectate. Okay, Violet swaps off Moira onto the BAP. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like maybe it's because they want to switch to double shield. I can't see any other reason. I don't know why they're on the sim. Oh, maybe just to get those two back to the team quicker. Kisu is on Sombra. Okay, so that's really powerful high ground control and puts a lot of pressure on the Rhine, so just kind of some interesting proof of thought. Okay, no, they're sticking on the sim. It's not a choice I agree with. I think McCree would have been a better value here, or Ash. Because with the sim, you're going for pure frontline damage. But then this just feels like a sloppy comp, if I'm honest. Like, I agree with the Rhine Sig. Violet on BAP means they have more shield pressure and more sustained playstyle. But the problem is, Fusion is that you can't out-sustain a comp that's built on sustain with the Orisa Sig. Ryan is not going to out-sustain an Orisa. They're just not. I think Fusion's comp is just better here, because Shock right now is playing a King of the Hill comp. Like the Ryan Sig, Lucio, May, Sim. Like now you'd run the Junk and Sim instead, but they're running they're playing super brawly, but I feel like they should have stuck with the Moira if they're gonna do that, or they should have gone for Bap and McCree. Because I feel like Sim isn't going to be able to get the value that they want here. So I don't actually know what's going on here. You have these dudes going up here. Violet's just, I mean, Funny Aster's just checking them. He's not trying to kill them or hard engage, probably. Super is engaging. Funny Ass, no, Moth is nowhere to be seen. He's pressuring Hisu out. Choi is also distracted by Hisu. Funny Astra is carrying this fight practically because, yeah, Immortality helps pocket Sim a lot, and that's what I was thinking is Bap is technically better at pocketing Sim than a Moira, but I just feel like it's the wrong call. But yeah, like here's the thing is, you have like this is just this is a lack of coordination. This is sloppy play from the Shock as far as I can tell. Like you have Rascal and Super pushing in when these dudes are teleporting up here to get the BAP sight lines and protect him and all that, but they're forced back by Funny Astro. And then having two on Hisu in the back when Choi is already hacked, like there's nothing you can do about it. Choi is hacked. There's no reason she's just gonna translocate out. I don't think that's, like, yeah, send Moth after her, but don't put Choi's spam away too. They do one or the other. Super's probably just gonna lose his shield here and be forced to back off. Yeah, and there comes the flex. Super has no shield. Everyone's hacked. Shock gets run over. They didn't allocate the resources in a quick enough burst, and now they get run over. So what Shock would have had to do there is they would have had to... I don't mind the Sim and Bap, but I feel like the Sombra, like that threw them off, and they critically mismanaged their resources with it. What they would have needed to do is have Super back off immediately, probably, with Funny Astro coming back, like to pull him back, and maybe even Rascal putting in a wall to get him back, and then... yeah, once the backline TP'd, like the Sombra just ran them over. Like Hisu and Funny Astro hard carried that fight. Because Hisu's pressure, like Choi probably would have been enough just shooting at her a little bit to pressure her back and keep her from running someone over, but then like they split the resources in too many directions, and you can't do that on Brawl. Because like a double shield is always going to win the resources war if you're just putting it down to... Sorry, Parakeet's trying to land on the back of my chair. Oh, I have one on the back of my chair. Hello, Willow. Doesn't look like she wants to come up. No, okay. They might have been planning to put Choi on top. That would be... Let's take a look, because that's a play I like a bit better. When did they teleport up?
Looking for it.
Team kill. The payload has reached the checkpoint.
At the same time, though, with the... Yeah, it doesn't look like it. The tricky thing with if you put Choi up there is that Super is really easy to pressure out. Like, that's why you don't usually split comp. I would have liked it if Super was on their restun more, because then you could have Super up here. I mean, you could have Choi up here, and it would just straight up be oppressive. But with Super on the Rhine, like, he needs more appeal. Yeah, it doesn't look like they wanted Choi up there. Yeah, no, he was just here to pressure card and stuff.
Establishing defense point.
Okay, so here's the next engage. Fusion is kiting back to preserve resources. Carpe is probably rotating to this off angle. My guess is that Fusion wants to kite them all the way back to here or here, and then have Shock here, and then Carpe just beat them up. Oh, look, can you stop picking at the back of my chair? Okay. They still have Ons on the Widow. Or no, they swap back to Ons on the Widow. Better than the Sim. Or I respect the Widow. She's only going to have this sight line. No, they already kited back from this sight line. So she has here, 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 though this isn't really that great. And there's not really any feasible way for Ons to get up here without getting pressured out, honestly, by Hisu and Funny Astro. So really just here and here. So that's what I was saying. Or maybe, yeah, you have the Mega Room, I guess, through here. So this is a pretty good sight line. It's limited in scope, but really powerful where it lands. So my guess is what happens here is Fusion continues to kite back. Shock probably invests Blizzard. Fusion has nothing. I feel like Shock wins this fight, but then Fusion is going to come back out and win the scrap fight with probably an EMP or a supercharger. So yeah, Fusion cuts back. Carpe, yeah, okay, Carpe moves up to the off angle. Shock rotates around. Okay, this makes sense. Ons, Choi gets caught out. They're leaving him as the split on cart. Yeah, they're probably going to try and get EMP online for this fight. I don't know if they'll And Supercharger, yeah. I don't think they'll need to use both necessarily, but those are the ults they're going for. Deadeye is useless. I don't mind this spot from Violet. It's okay. Like, he can heal his... Can you stop it, Willow? Like, you probably have... Like, the problem is with the Brawl is I don't... Like, they're going here to preserve Super Shield. Blech. To hydrate, I'm going to have to take a drink break after we finish the attack round here. Yeah, but I feel like they'll probably just engage through here, because if they go through here, there's no support from Violet. And, like, yeah, they might drive out Carpe's off angle, but, yeah, an Alarm's window could probably turn this to. I think Violet is probably going to window... He'll probably just window himself, honestly. Yeah, there's the window on himself. Big halt by Sato. Like, this is... Yeah, this is stupid. They're engaging... It just looks bad. Like, they're not playing... These guys took a 3v6 over here for all practical purposes. And I don't know why, because... Let's slow it down again. Yeah, so they wanted to force out the off angle. I respect that. But then dropping with the shield that down, that is a monstrous mistake. Like, the resources are already burnt here. They would have needed to blizzard immediately if they want to get any value. And he might even be... Like, you have... Like, you're jumping in the middle of the team's backline here. Choi is probably shielding these guys so they don't instantly die. I think this was a huge mistake by Shock. They're not in position to back up this team section. And that halt by Sato was actually enormous too. Yeah, and like, look, you have Violet here. He's just like looking here. He has no way of healing through 2 shields to get to his backline. And Moth just does not have enough burst heal. Yeah, that halt was like actually huge. So, yeah, nothing happens here. You just got run over by 1 unit. And I mean, that's how you deal with the off angles, is just rush one of the off sections. But then the problem is, like, Shock had the right idea. They forced out the off angle with Carpe and Funny Astro. But then once they rejoin their main team, you don't just rush the main team as 3v6 and like continue as your small subunit. No, you fall back. Like, if Super and the rest of them had gone back through here and then back into the front line again, that could have been massive. Like, they could have had the potential. Or, yeah, like, if they just stayed on this high ground or even just poked it or something, or if they'd gotten ons on this sight line maybe even, like, there could have been tons more opportunity for pressure. Or really Choi. I feel like they should have had Choi here. I think, well, Ryan isn't going to sustain on this pressure as long as Choi would have dominated this off angle. Like, it just feels like it was a misplay with the system. And Ons isn't really going to outvalue Carpet here, per se. Like, you don't have that many different sightlines to take. Ons doesn't have the firing rate. Okay, so now he's on the Ashe that I was expecting at the start. But now, from Fusion, you have the EMP, you have the Supercharger, you have the B, you have the Flux, you have all your ults. And Shock has 4 of them. So my guess is that Shock is trying to go for a Flux to force out 2 of the ults, probably EMP and Beat is probably what they want. Okay, so they got out only High Noon and Window. So probably like the least two valuable ones. Yeah, no, he doesn't go for the EMP here, I don't think, because like they don't need it, honestly. Like they know Shock doesn't have any things right now, and it's right now all about just ult economy and saving it. And like you have the useless ult, High Noon, and then you have the fastest ult, which is the window. So there's no reason to use anything more valuable than that. So now you have the flex because you expect Shock to legitimately engage with Blizzard. Choi is trying to rotate probably into this off angle. I respect that. On's kind of far behind. I don't know why Super is so far up. Like his team isn't in position for this. My guess is here. No, they don't need the EMP even probably. But if they decide they do, it's all set up. But I think they win this off Flux and maybe Supercharger. Yeah, no, they don't even need it. Yeah, it's just the Flux. That's really good discipline from it. Yeah, that Flux was from Shock. Like, I get the point of it to try and bait stuff out, but I feel like that it was a high impact ult, and I don't love that they had to use it there. But then this was sloppy. It was just mistimed. They weren't playing as a team time-wise. So now Fusion still has its 3 most important ults except for Flux. So you see immediately the Supercharger here to try and zone these dudes out. This is a much better looking engage. I think Hisu probably... No. Hisu's not going to EMP here though. I don't think, because his team just isn't in position to follow up. Carpe's got an enormous off angle. This is probably going to just single-handedly win the fight. Yeah, Carpe gets Joy. Carpe's probably going to kill Super. Super's on the reset now. Yeah, he killed Ons. Super does kill Carpe, but like the off angle already did the work. And now Super just dies. Like, they're trying to sustain this, but they only have 1 fight left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Yeah, Fusion was too back to follow up on the EMP because of the wall. Like, without the wall, they probably could have rushed it. Like, especially if Hisu had EMP'd the tanks, but they just weren't in a situation for it, and they had the time. So, like, almost the threat of an EMP is more dangerous than the EMP itself in a lot. Yeah, it's like a zoning Blizzard, because, like, here, the reason I don't love it is because it doesn't get anyone, and Shock is down 2, and down 2 of its key members. But at the same time... Like with BAP, Orisa, and Mei, that's already enough to sustain a fight. And it zones out, like, it severely zones Fusion. Because, like, you have Sato completely isolated here, or Fury completely isolated here, Alarm cut off, Funny Astro cut off. But I don't like it because the problem is Shock doesn't have enough manpower right now to push any of these targets. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, yeah, it zones them out in a really well-played fashion, but it just... You don't have the resources, man. Like, look at this. None of these targets are gonna die. Like, not even Fury, who actually gets caught in it. And instead, Alarm dies because... Or no, Alarm does die. Okay, so Alarm dies over here. He gets picked off by Violet. It's still not enough. I think Hisu probably just lands a fat EMP here, and then they run them over. They're going to wait till Shock actually engages, because Shock isn't hard engaging here. But my guess is Shock is going to move up to this corner, EMP slaps down, and then Fusion runs them over. Or that's what should happen in theory. I feel like Shock maybe caps this, because this is a kind of long-looking game. So I'm curious to see what happens.
30 seconds remaining.
Carpe once again on this huge off angle. Oh my gosh, this can be killer if he like catches Rascal with a Fan the Hammer. Yeah, I don't know about Esther's beat either. I feel like it was just a stabilization thing, but I think that was a mistake because you know Moth still has his beat. I like that Hans is just still up there. Yeah, Carpe finds Rascal with the fan the hammer. But see, this time they send the Sigma up here. They send the Sigma up here. I think this might be how they win it. If they win it. EMP should land here. Yep, because their shock is engaging. Fusion engaged. Beat, though. Okay, so that stems the bleeding, but there's no way they can contest with this. Choi... Oh, maybe Choi builds up Flux? Yeah, there's no way they win this, so that's pretty much it. It was a valiant fight by... Yeah, EMP canceled the beat, and it was actually a really well... It was a really well played EMP. Or no, the beat happened after the EMP, sorry. So it was actually a response beat. They were probably saving it for after the EMP. I don't think Moth got caught in it. But it wasn't enough, because like it was just... It was a sloppy position.
Switching sides.
Alright,
Initiating match.
I'm gonna hit with the B right back for brief water, restrooms, whatever, break. And then in like 5 minutes, probably again, I'll start up and look at Fusion's attack round. Okay, back to business. Just finished the attack session after a brief intermission. Attack section for Shock, and the Shock versus Fusion matchup on, well, just last week or whatever. Hello, can you stop chewing on my chair? This is Willow. I don't know what she's doing, but okay. So Shock versus Fusion. Let's see how this goes.
Ready for battle.
So right off the bat, you have very distinctly different stylistic choices. Shock is opting for the same comp as the Fusion for defense. It's a little unusual. Baby size shield. It's a little unusual, honestly, seeing as Shock has actually looked pretty good in the past with their, I think it was Echo Ash defense on King's Row. But I guess they're just not feeling it's as strong in this meta. Yeah, nothing really to say about Shock. I already introduced the double shield comp with the spam. Meanwhile, Fusion, though, they're playing their dive, and Sombra dive is something that's favored them a lot more stylistically than a lot of teams, because Hisu is really a fantastic Sombra. Carpe can provide a great double his scan choice. Sato is a great monkey. They have Fury on the Diva because Zarya's banned. Ana is like the bread and butter for dive support line now. Yeah, you can run like a Brig Zen dive, but that's a lot more consistent, a lot more dependent on burst damage, and it's probably not even viable now with Brigitte nerfed. Like, I don't think she has that same level of oppressive peel as she did before, because like she just has that lower HP and shield gets burnt faster, things like that. Funny Aster's on the Mercy. It's pretty much just a pocket Carpe for the most part. Like, you don't get much better choices with dive right now. Like, you have Lucio, but it's not doing much because who you're gonna speed? Like, you already have mobile heroes. They don't need more speed. And then, like, yeah, maybe like a Zarya, but except Zarya's banned. And then Brig is banned too. She's classically been the recent choice in modern dive just because she provides peel for your backline, and like it's just she's the only one that makes sense really. Mercy's like she's okay. Leisure Ana kind of just sitting out there though, has to play really conservatively. My guess is Fusion rotates around statue or around to top, dives the. They'll either dive the top and just try and force Shock off of the high ground, or maybe they'll rotate around through Cafe and just try and pressure them into more vulnerable spots. Well, let's see. Oh, Violet is on the Zenyatta, though, and Moth is on the Baptiste. So the difference with that is you don't have as quick as rotations as Lucio. But really, it's just a better comp. It's the pure spam comp, because Zenyatta's shield break is just generally a lot more viable. But then you're also a lot weaker to dive, because you don't have the Brig peel. You don't even have Lucio's semblance of peel. So we'll have to see how they handle this. I think Junkrat's trap maybe offsets this a tiny bit, but my guess is that Shock is probably going to lose in the first two fights. So there's rotation around statue. They're playing this really close. See, like I told you about like the posturing and the scouting. Dive is all about map control too. There's the dive. Or not like, that's not a hard dive, but it was just trying to draw out resources, push them back a bit. I don't know if he intended to land it or not. My guess is maybe he intended to land on the corner and then just drop back. But I'm not totally sure. Either way, it buys him a little, yeah, less Fury and Sato rotate through. You notice that you have Alarm just chilling here, because he's going to be healing probably from... This is too vulnerable to Widow. Probably right here, honestly, and here. As soon as the tank line engages, there's no reason for him to rotate through, obviously, or get anywhere close to anyone. Ons, meanwhile, he's just not poking because you don't want to poke before your team is actually going to engage. I feel like he'll probably rotate through Hotel, or maybe just stay in main. We'll see. Or sorry, Carpe. He's just scouting, gets forced out. So yeah, so here was the first option. So they went kind of like a hybrid where they went here, which is what I was expecting, but then they did the thing that I was expecting that they'd do if they went through here, where they just pressure point to try and get the drop down. And notice that they're hugging walls super close, that there's not actually any sight lines for Shock to burn them down. You still need the bubble, because if you're playing a tank, you're actually playing a glass cannon now somehow, even if you're 1000 HP Winston, but... Okay, so yeah, Carpe takes this sight line. It's pretty much uncontested, because your Widow is literally up here, and cannot obviously see down here. They expect Sombra? No. Yeah, so he's just gonna be here. He might just straight up get a pick on Moth. We'll see. This is why this off angle is really strong, is like no matter where you're set up, you have sightlines on the back line. Like it's probably one of the strongest off angles to take in the game. And it's not very costly either. You can always just rotate back around. Like that's why you can like throw an Ana nade through there or something. Tank line backs up for a little bit. Get some more resources. Oh ho ho ho. That was really well played by Fury. He flew up through here and booped off Choi. Choi probably should have been a little more careful. But that was a really smart play by Fury. I can't even say it was like Choi's like played it badly. I think Fury just kind of galaxy brained that. He's gonna get hacked. There it is. He's gonna get shot by Carpe. I don't think he's gonna die. I think he'll back up into the back chamber. But Moth is in a more vulnerable position because of it, and he might actually get shot by Carpe. And this tank line here, they could actually dive this now, or they could just pressure point. Like, they have a lot more options. They're still gonna take it slow. There's no rush. Yeah, so they do safely get Choi out. But now the tank line... No, okay, they just leave it. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, this is some really good discipline. Oh my gosh, can you stop yelling, Tweety? Or no, Willow? I don't really know why they're waiting. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't know. I don't know what they're waiting for. Maybe... Oh, they're waiting for Nano. They're waiting for Nano. They can't hard engage with Sato until the Nano comes up. So yeah, they're 100% just trying to feed Nano and maybe get a tick out of it. Carpe, yeah, there's the Nano onto Sato here. He's not actually close enough to do anything. He's probably just gonna try and poke to pressure these dudes out a bit. But he's gonna get shredded by Choi and Violet. Like, there's no way he can stay up here. He's already low, even with the Nano, I think. Yeah. He might even just drop down here and then take the off angle with Hisu. Looks like Carpe is probably gonna be going back through here again. And then it's going to be on Fury to contest this high ground and pressure, or just cap a tick of the point. Yeah, so Fury's just capturing a tick of the point. They send Super down to contest. Looks like Sato just rotated through here. This is actually kind of big, pressuring Ons out. He probably should have seen that coming. That's actually a really big kill. Because that frees up Carpe. Yeah, he wasn't he could take more aggressive angles now if he wants.
Time to raise my APM.
Fury's still managing this angle because Shock doesn't actually have any resources to commit to it. They just kind of throw some rascal nades at it, except that's just bombs and it's not going to do anything against Diva's DM. Here's the biggest thing. Alarm. He is totally free now with Ons dead. Like, he has the sight line all the way to here, all the way across point. Like, Shock has nothing they can do. They can maybe block it with a Choi's shield. Like, if you slap that lad, maybe like right down here, you'd force Twilight into, or Alarm into some seriously more aggressive positioning, but that's about it. Shock probably gives them 2 ticks and then tries to re-engage. Except, no, Super's already on point. They don't have a choice. They're going to have to engage here. Probably with Trance. Yeah, there's the Trance to save Super. Fury can now engage hard because it's just Rascal looking at him. Moth is down. Moth is super occupied. Ares is on deathbed's door, even with the Trance. Probably is like that's still not a good place to be. Troy has a good off angle here. I don't think is the right time to take it though. Like, you don't have people on point that you're really pressuring that well. I think it would have been better if Choi was here, because if he was stemming the pressure that Fury was putting in, I think that would have probably helped Shock stabilize better here. So Fusion is still taking this really slow, but they've gotten a tick out of it now. Hans just gets dominated again. They now safely have Carpe and Funny Aster through the door. Soft commit, I think, by Sato. Or no, that's a hard commit. Okay, hold up. I gotta actually examine this closer. Hisu's literally waiting here for Hans. And Sato gets called over, caps it, or beats him up. That nade? Where did that nade land from? My guess is that nade is huge though. Wait, hold up. Did he splash it off the back wall? He must have. Yeah, he must have splashed off the back wall.
Into the iris.
He could sleep on Super.
I will keep you here. Heroes never die.
Look at the discipline. He doesn't panic, doesn't try and do other stuff. Yeah, okay, that nade is enormous because look at this. Look at how safe these dudes have to play now. Like, they're way shoved back in. They're not putting any damage pressure out. They're in danger of Sato just coming over and running them over. And Fury now has complete roll of the high ground, and Sato comes to back him up so he can force Sig off. And he's so low that I don't think they're going to push this because of the window, but like, they have complete map control here now. They have Carpe on the off angle here safely. He's just going to fall back so he doesn't get run over by the window, probably by Violet. And they have Hisu over here, just beating up Rascal, honestly. Alarm is wide open. And that Funny Aster literally can just slap down Volk for the support. Yeah, so see, they don't commit here except for Fury, who's a little more durable. They just stay here for the chip. Fury does get D-Max. But I think Sato probably zones them out enough to get another tick. Right for alarm. Yeah, no peel, no anything. He gets the nano onto Sato though. So that's pretty big, and then Hisu also is there. And Bob, yeah, that was well played fight by Fusion. See, so the fight, that was one fight. That was just one fight. And it takes all the way till a minute 30, so it's not like they capped it faster than Shock, but they did it in a way more disciplined way. And like, yeah, I can't say if they did it better or worse in terms of performance, but they played the dive comp really perfectly well, as far as I can say. But then Choi, what did Choi just do? Choi just wiped them all off. You have
Cease your resistance.
Alarm dead, so there goes the sustain. Sato finds Violet, Violet's dead.
Do something!
Sato finds Moth, Moth is dead. Choi rotates back to the off angle. And then he's patient, waits for the Bob to die. Super's dead. But yeah, he's on the off angle here. Ons on the Kree. That's the thing. Ons happens to get back right at a hero moment. Murders Carpe. Probably gonna murder Fury. Might honestly even murder Funny Astro too. And then Sigma, like, he's such a strong duelist, there's no way that they're gonna pressure him out with all those resources just devoted on Ons. And then Sato probably just dies to Choi. So yeah, Ons just killed Carpe, killed Fury. Moth is zoned out by Ons. Hisu has to translocate out. Choi finds Sato again, yeah, and then Choi just finds the Mercy. And yeah, Hisu finds Ons, but what is Hisu gonna do? It's a Somber versus a Sig. And then the Junk finds, like, there's nothing they can do. Like, Choi played that really, really well by going back to the off angle here. And I think what they would have needed to do is Carpe just would have needed to be forcing Ons back here. I don't think they can't let Ons come back in like that on that off angle. This off angle is so strong on the attacker side, but it's also equally strong on the defenders. People forget about that. Like, it's oppressive. You have full access to the backline, and here he has full access to the backline. The tanks are just, like, all isolated, and like Alarm is dead. It's pretty much just like a perfect storm of just things barely happening in time to let Shock clutch that one out. It really shouldn't have happened. Fusion played they won the fight for all practical purposes, but then they just couldn't close it out because, like, they just didn't expect the return of Ons, I guess. But they have to give it our take.
Nerf this!
There's no way Shock wins this though.
Apagando las luces.
Big flux costs them a lot of ults though. They have to use the. Hello? Shock. Why are you winning? Rub my eyes on this one. Oh my gosh, I hate this noise. Nice. I mean, Ons is back on the Widow. That's a really quick swap. Twilight has free sight lives here. And Carpe honestly can force out Ons because he has the damage boost. Oh, but his tanks engage past the shield. They're probably gonna get too low and pressure out. Yeah, so the bomb is forced. I don't think they really wanted to use the bomb there. And Sato's forced back. And then Hisu does like a panicle here, but like here's the thing. What is Alarm doing? He's like just trying to survive here, and he like keep Carpe up. Carpe's got a good sight line, but like Fury, he's almost dead as Baby DB. He hasn't even gotten remac'd. And then Sato's still half health, but no one is in position to follow up on this except maybe Carpe. And you're putting so much weight on Carpe's shoulders at that point. Like, that's what he's used to, but like, what are you expecting? That Carpe is just gonna magically dink the Violet and Super. He might, but it's not. It doesn't make it a well played choice. Yeah, so Super finds Fury here. Choi destroys Funny Astro. I don't know if Funny Astro was. Oh yeah, Choi is just walling out this whole sightline. See, like he's closing off the off angle because now Sato's trapped behind enemy lines. That just looks sloppy. That was a sloppy EFP. Sloppy. The Diva Bomb was panicked. They just didn't spend, like, they panicked. They didn't have the time to posture like they did before. And then they go in with a messy engage.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
Like, that's the thing with dive is you need to be so disciplined for it. And that's why it's probably the hardest comp to run. Because you need the mechanical skill on a lot of the heroes. You need the discipline in the setup. You cannot rush dive. So you're gonna force Super to drop again. See, this is their discipline setup again. They have everyone in the positions, patient. They're probably gonna rush Super. So they have the nano. They kill Ons, free up the sightline again. Good angle from Alarm. This is really juicy. Carpe is on McCree somehow on a pincher off angle. This is a ginormous off angle from them. Like, Super is just gonna die because he gets run over. As soon as the Reese is dead, no one's able to contest the point. Too late for the trance, yeah. Now everything just falls apart. Sato still died. Shock. Rascal? Where was Rascal? He must have been... Did he follow them in? He must have followed them in. I can't think of any other way. Because, yeah, he finds two. And while Alarm probably catches him with a shot in there, and then he tried to nade them, but it's too late. Oh, but then, yeah, Alarm carries this fight. Alarm just straight up is carrying this fight. Alarm carried the fight. And look at this, look at this. Like, the only reason that they won this fight at all was because of Alarm. He killed Rascal. He kept the sustain. Killed two of them essentially in here with the chip and the nade. It was the only reason that they managed to get the clip on the squishies left over here. Like, look at this. And
10 seconds remaining.
Into the iris.
okay, so Rascal gets like 2 aggro and shoots in the back, but it finds 2. So yeah, like you only have Hisu and Alarm here. Like look at this dude. Look at this dude. 1, 2, pressure. Gets he drops Violet into critical and forces him back. Pressure. Pretty much kills Violet because Hisu is also shooting at him. Heals Hisu for this brief second. They also kill Moth together. Almost leaves it on, so it still pressures him to the point where he can't touch. And then that buys enough time for Sato to get back and force everyone off the point. Like, I hate to say it, but that, like, Alarm is just that clutch of a player. He's an MVP candidate for a reason. I don't think Shock played it badly. I think they needed to maybe play it better by watching this back flank better. Maybe having the Transcendence ready earlier, like to use it earlier because he used it too late. Watching this, closing this off somehow with maybe Carpe, or no, Ons on a longer sightline here, maybe. But like they needed some way of shutting this down. Like you cannot lose like that. You cannot. I know that sounds stupid. Like, oh yeah, just don't lose. But no, you cannot let someone clutch like that. They should not. Fusion should not have won that. Choi and Moth and Violet or whoever were still alive, I feel like they played sloppy because you don't lose to the Ana and the Sombra. That was sloppy play. Like they just you hated to see it, but you also love to see it. That was so clutch by Larm. So Shock is able to hold that book corner here. They're taking the long fight, or the long sight line, because they can get that chip. They have the spam damage advantage because of the junk over the Sombra. And Fusion can't engage on that without burning a lot of resources in the process. Harper is taking a textbook off angle here. Like it's I think Overwatch School talked about this a bit. You can find him on Twitch or YouTube or whatever. Nim something. But he wrote a guide about attacking on McCree, and it pretty much follows this exact thing of like you can go through here, poke through here, even reunite with your team here. Like you like taking this off angle alleys as McCree can be so oppressive. Like if like that is exactly why Rascal and Sigma are here. They're establishing the off angles, 1, 2, and pressuring these guys out. And it also lets them keep this off angle from getting taken free, because you can even like rotate all the way to here as McCree, poke there. Or even if you have a lot of time, you can even rotate all the way up here. And if they don't have high ground access really, it's going to be pretty hard to force you out. So my guess is what happens here is Hisu EMPs. Fusion is probably going to do a hard bomb rush. They're pretty low on ults. They only have EMP, but they don't have much time either. Shock is probably going to try and go for an aggro flux. My guess is they'll wait till the cart is about here and then go for it.
Apagando las luces.
There's the EMP. That was 6 man. That is enormous. And there's the rush from Fusion. Like, you don't give them the time to stabilize. Like, look at the aggression from Fury.
Cease your resistance.
Yeah, but then you just, like, Shock just had a big ult advantage there. Because for all practical purposes, they won the first fight. They had the ult advantage. So you just can't keep up with the supercharger and the tire when you're only investing the EMP. And like I feel like Hisu probably could have waited a little more, or like Sato could have played more aggressively there, because they let Shock get back to this corner and then stabilize and let their ults come out. I feel like it was just a bit sloppy from Shock, or from Fusion. They'll start to blend together after a bit. So notice, Shock has to give up this free space here, because they had to wait for Rascal and whoever the other respawn was. So, they have to play the back corner instead of front. Because you can't take the 4v6 here, you can't even just take it and kite back, because you will get destroyed if you try and kite back in a narrow corridor. Isu's scouting. My guess is that Choi is here to address the off angle, because Carpe could just take this off angle and decimate everyone. They might try and aggressively take the off angle too. Like you could send Ons and Choi feasibly on that off angle and then have the rest of the team go through main, and it could be devastating. But we'll see. Fusion probably just going to try and build a window and use it.
60 seconds remaining.
Ons finds Carpe. That's good. They're just playing stacked now. Because now that they know nobody's on the off angle, there's no reason to have Choi over there anymore. And then textbook positioning here. Just tight on the corner. Sure. You have the wide angle with the Sigma because he has more spam, more sustain, and it doesn't make sense to stack us here. Like, yeah, they're stacked up because they're both like looking at the same spot, but you pretty much always want your Sigma on a soft off angle So you can shoot around shields and just provide more overall pressure. I don't see Fusion winning this fight. If they do, it's either from a major clutch play or a major slip up. Ons gets the off angle and destroys. They push these dudes back. Ons destroys them. Yeah, there's the rush. So that's what should have happened there. So now Fusion only has 30 seconds to get back. They're gonna have to send their Lucio to touch. They have window and flux. That's it. Meanwhile, Shock has window. So that's pretty much all eyes on how Fury uses his flux. But like, look at this angle. Ons is checking that the Lucio doesn't touch up there. They can start burning resources really early. Hisu's probably gonna see if he can start pressuring Cart.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah. But like, look, Ons is already watching Cart. He has this back sightline. This is disgusting. And Rascal already finds Carpe somewhere in the rotation because Carpe like poked out too early like a ladder DPS. Now, Super goes for a rush on the Cart on Hisu. That might have been the critical mistake.
Overtime.
I like this. This is... No, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. These guys poked too early. The problem is Fusion needs to be focused here. Like, you want the focus to be on your main tank because they're most equipped to sponge damage, even with the nerfs and buffs and all that. And you have your junk here, and your window is coming up. I don't know where they're placing it, probably just on corner. But like, the Cart is blocking this sightline. Like, this is a 3v6, 3v5 here. Like, they're pressuring too early. It's a great off angle, but just at the wrong timing. And I think what's going to happen is Furry pressures Funny Astra a little bit, probably flexes them inside, and then the rest of them rush the main unit. Or no, they'll probably flex the main unit, and then, yeah, I'll just rush them. There's the window. See, this is better. So yeah, Super and Rascal and Violet had to go up aggressively here, because they just don't have the sightlines otherwise for the pinch. Big halt by Sato. Zones out Rascal. Rascal's gonna die. And then you see the Flux come out on the back line. Yeah, Shock just... They had a slight misstep there on the off angles. I think they would have needed to wait and keep their positioning on the corner, or they would have needed to hard commit here earlier and maybe push up to hold this corner while having this off angle. Like, they played it too scattered, hedged their bets too far, and then just got pushed back from both. And once again, Fusion gets by the skin of their teeth. They should not have won this, frankly. Yeah, they had an ult advantage. But they had a really bad positioning disadvantage. And really, that was Shock's fight to win. Carpe's on the McCree now. McCree or Ash are better here because you don't, like, it's not... You don't need the Widow or whatever. Actually, what was he on before? I thought he was on McCree. Swept to Reaper. Huh. I don't know why I did that, but... Okay, so you have Choi up here on the off angle. He's probably gonna spy check too. But you always want your Sigma on the off angle. Like, just always. Hey, birds, get off the curtains. You always want your Sigma on the off angle here. He has free access to the back line, hard to force out. Dominant. Super is in a fine position here. Gives them pressure. I would have liked if Ons went up here with Choi. I think that's my only critique. Because having the two on the off angle gives you a lot more pressure there. And like, you already have enough pressure in main with just Rascal and Super. Yeah, so you get Choi gets hacked as soon as the fight actually engages. That was a good hack by Hisu. And Violet uses beat. Violet on the Lucio is kind of cursed, if I'm honest. I don't really know why. He's probably fine on it. Violet's one of like the best players in Overwatch, honestly, across all roles, all heroes. Maybe not all heroes, but like across all roles, he's just one of the overall best players of Overwatch. So he's probably a fine Lucio, but there's no way he's better than Moth. Choi abandons the off angle because they're pushing it aggressively. I don't like this. I think like a Shock's style is, yeah, play it aggro, but it just feels sloppy. I think like you want to usually set out your web and catch the team in it, rather than like this comp just isn't the most efficient for that. Like, yeah, you brawl once the fight starts to break out, but you wait for them to walk up to you first. I think Shock is trying to take the fight too aggressively here. They'll probably win it and force Fusion back, but I don't think, like, they didn't get any resources out of Fusion. They're not. Like, Sato used Supercharger at the start of the fight, I think, before everything. But you used Beat, and they didn't use anything.
60 seconds.
Oh, you did get a nice halt off Fury, though. But yeah, like, see, and meanwhile, so Fusion just pretty much treated that as a dry push. They have EMP and Beats, at least, to try and start covering stuff up. Shock has 5 ults, though. If I was Shock here, you use Window and High Noon, and maybe Tire, but you need to keep those tank ults. Like, those are clutch for last fight. You only have 49 seconds left. Sigma on the off angle. Super's way too far. Super's looking for poke, I guess. He's way too far up, though. He's way too far up. Yeah, so now, okay, so now you have... Yeah, you had Ans on the off angle there, and Alarm, or Moth, too. But then, like, look at this. You have, like, everyone's stacking up because Super's trying to take this fight aggressively at corner. That is not the best call. They should have just waited till back here and then gone for it. Like, you're in one fight territory anyways. Super's heal gets cut off, he gets EMP'd. Bongo gets EMP'd. Rascal is hacked. Choi is hacked. How did Choi get up here? Oh, he used Flux. Why did he use Flux? Why did they use... They overcommitted to this fight. They used 3 ults, knowing that EMP was up, and can just cancel it all. And instead of waiting till the open area when they have all the sight lines and the area that favors this comp, they take it up here where there's the single sight line. Like, you're on defense. Use the map control. Control the map. Use it to your advantage. This is just... It honestly almost looks amateur. Like, obviously, they're all great players and taking great offense. Like, look at this angle from Ants. This is huge. I don't think they're going to win this, though, because of that EMP and just, like, they were over-eager on the ults and positioning. So, yeah, they'll live, but, like, look at this. They're forced back anyways. Like, what's the point now? To take things aggro, too aggro, Super dies. And Choi plays it sloppy and dies. Huge flux by Fury, and it all collapses. And then now Shock just has a sloppy stall fight. Ans is gonna try for clutch picks on the Widow probably, and look, Fury is already ready shielding it. Carpe zones them out. They're not. They can't even touch. Shock just, they goofed it. They played. They were too impatient. Like, that's why Super makes a great Reinhardt. He's, like, willing to go get him. But then on the Risa, I feel like his positioning, or Shock's as a whole, was just, it was too aggressive, too impatient. And yeah, it works, and it's amazing at times, and that's why Shock is a lethal team on double shield, for one. But I think that's why Smurf plays it better on the Risa. And with why Shock plays with him better as an Risa. Like, it's not that Super's a bad Risa, it's just... like his personality and playstyle don't fit with it as well, because like Smurf is more equipped to take advantage of the nuances of Orisa. Like, you just like, look at this. Shock just feeds here. They could have just stayed back. They know that the immortality is on corner here. And like, look at this. Why is he all the way up here? Why? And then Ons gets pulled into the harebrained scheme too. They threw this fight. Shock and Fusion, I'm gonna say the hot take. I personally feel like Shock is still the stronger team. Not just saying this because I'm a Shock fanboy or anything, but I feel like Shock has more of the start. Like, I feel like they're no, they're not better clutch players. They're even, I would say. I think Shock has a better grasp of the game, but I think Fusion is more disciplined in their playstyle. Like, Shock is like the loose, wild cannon, flinging things around, run at them and beat them up kind of style, and I love them for it. But then Fusion, like, they're like, it's like an organized military at times. Like, they have so many clutch players too, but they're willing to take that patience, and I think it's really telling for Coach KDG or whatever, or with his coaching, and it just, you love to see it. But I think this should have been Shock. They played better. They had better understanding and situational and like divisions of their team for the most part. They just blew it at key points with their impatience and botched it. And then I assume that's what happened on Anubis and on Lijiang Tower too. At any rate, I can't wait to see their next matchup. So I have hit my streaming quota of the day by a pretty long shot. I usually stream for an hour. This one's 2 hours. Thanks for anyone who watched or watches. I'll probably watch or upload this on YouTube if anyone wants to watch 2 hours of one map review. And thanks. I'll probably stream consistently on Mondays around this time for an hour. It's between 2 of my classes. And leave it at that. Thanks for coming. Oh yeah, also, here's your bonus thing if you, I got this giant plush seal for my birthday yesterday. It's pretty great. Alright, now it's time to be offline. Bye.